All right, welcome. Let's go ahead and we're going to talk about chapter 2 today. During this discussion, we're going to go ahead and make your template page that you'll be using for your initial web pages that you begin throughout the course. And we will be doing that as we go and progress through the PowerPoint. So it's going to be kind of an action demo type thing that we're going to do. And then we're going to talk a little bit about directories on the server and how that works and why you need an index page. And then I'm going to give you a little preview into where we're headed, and that is setting up your first link to another web page. And then that will get us prepared for chapter 3. So without any more discussion, we'll come back to this page and make sure that we've covered everything appropriately. Let's go ahead and get into some of our objectives here. The main thing is talking about semantic elements. That's one of the things that I wanted to discuss with you, is what are elements on a web page, and what is the structure of a web page. And that's what we're going to use, is that essential structure to create a template. Comments, we'll put some comments in, and then we'll probably throw in some special character codes and maybe have a small discussion on that as we progress. And then we'll go into those other portions of my little list there that we got. All right, so when we're, it starts pretty simple. Plan it. That's one of the initial stages. Part of that plan is creating folders for your web page to go into. Now, you don't have to have folders for a web page. It's just nice to put things in folders, especially when, let's say that you are starting a web page that is going to grow. So the ability for your web page to be robust and easily changeable or updatable, it's better to have specific places for some of the support type files that are needed for a website. And there's cascading style sheets. That's what helps you style your elements. And script files, images, and even files that are available for download even. And we're going to create those, and then we'll throw in those comments. So plan your website first. We're going to begin with the files that we need, and your design stages. What I find better to do is kind of break down, and kind of gives you a preface to what elements are. What are the elements in your web page? And think of them like boxes. Where is this square going to go? Because that's what CSS gives us the ability to do. Is in the last video I was talking about that top down, left to right behavior of HTML. Well, when we start working with elements, we can adjust that behavior with CSS. So we can describe and put an element in HTML, but we can describe where it goes on the page with our CSS. And then here's the one that I'm not really good at. I'm horrible at color schemes and graphics. I usually always have to have a shopping partner with me, especially when I'm getting clothes. But there are individuals out there that are really gifted with this, and I can really tell from a website whether this is done by somebody like me or done by somebody that's had that graphical training. And there is training there. I've worked with graphics departments before, and everything, the rules that they set and the policies and procedures that they have when you implement a graphic are important, because you can tell just by looking at the graphic. And then, how would you design? Would it be for something to be able to optimally be viewable from a wide range of, you know, different types of devices? And because that's the reality nowadays, is that there are other things than a regular desktop computer that are going to view your web page. How would your design components make it viewable much easier on an Android or an iPhone? And then here's another part that we need, that is the accessibility. Uh, Accessibility is important because, well, let me just put it this way. Those of us that are in society that don't have the ability to look at images, what they really appreciate is a description of the image. And when you describe the image with text, do it with alacrity. Try to do it like a novel, so that you're building a picture in this individual's head. Because I guarantee you that even if they've never, you know, if it's a sight disability, even if they've never been able to see before, they've developed a picture in their head of a curious dog. It's happened some way. So if you describe an animal with curiosity, you put some emotion into it, and your accessibility, especially if you're having a website that you want accessibility on, use descriptive details and draw a picture of the picture. And then the sitemap is essentially how, you know, there's some common sites that are needed, such as, you know, your home page. We refer to that as the index, and we'll get into that shortly. But we have our About Us, classes, nutrition, contact us. So what are things about this website that should be standard? And then what is it that makes it stand apart from it? So the standard parts of a website are usually always an About Us and a Contact Us page. And then, you know, something for this example, something that makes it stand out is a nutrition page. And so lay that out before you get started as much as possible. The more you plan ahead, the easier the implementation will be when you actually get to writing the HTML. And then we're going to put in some special tags, some special element tags, HTML tags, that will make it easier for us to have our website or our web page pretty much follow acceptable designs now. You know, we usually, and nowadays, and I've seen this really change over the years, but the thing that really has not changed is a header, a footer, and a navigation panel of some kind. Image banner is, you know, when I say relatively recent, this, you know, it's been around for a while and in all kinds of different forms. It used to be implemented with JavaScript first. It's still implemented with JavaScript, but now you can actually do image banners with CSS and a little bit more simplicity. And then, of course, you have your main content area for each page. So there are parts of your navigation, like say your header and footer, that should never change when you go to your first web page, link 1, to your second web page, link 2, link 3, link 4. And that's why we are developing a template, is because we want some commonality about our navigation, such as that every page has the same header, every page has the same footer. So let's go ahead and begin with our file management. We're going to go ahead and create some folders in our website. The website folders that we're going to have are the CSS is a very common one, and as well as scripts. And then we got our images and our media. So those are all 4 that pretty much every website will have. Now, we already built the folder in our last video, so let's go ahead and get into that folder. Now remember, I instructed you to put it in on the desktop, even if you have a folder refers to all your work for this class or whatever. And then inside of it, you have your different folders for each website. This is the folder that we're going to be using for our website. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of these guys because we haven't really fully created our template. We got to start on it, but we haven't completed it. Now, you notice I just double clicked on there to bring it up in Visual Studio Code. That's because I set my operating system to open up HTML by default. You can right click on there and open it up with your Notepad++ or whatever IDE, integrated development environment you've chosen, or text editor in this case. It's not really an integrated development environment. Text editors aren't considered IDEs, but there loosely are. So I'm going to go ahead and just open this up with Visual Studio Code. And this is where we're going to make some of our changes later. So I'm going to come back to this. But the folders that we're going to be using are what I just described. So I'm going to go ahead and call this CSS and use lowercase as much as possible, guys. Don't get in the habit, especially when you're dealing with folders. Actually, folder uppercase and lowercase does not matter much, and either with file names on pretty much every operating system, I just have a preference. Here is where we will call this one scripts. And you know, these folder names are not necessary for a website. They're just some commonalities. And then the next one is going to be images and then media. New folder, okay, images, and then we're going to have another folder, new folder. That one's going to be media. That's where we're going to put our videos. And we'll get more on to working within the file structure. That's one of the goals I have for this video. All right, we've got our folders created. Let's go ahead and continue on with what we got in our file management series of PowerPoint. We've created our CSS, our images, our media, our scripts, and we've put it on a folder in our desktop. Now we can go to our desktop right here or right here and follow that folder down into, you know, what our website is going to have in it. And we are ready for the next bit, and that is what is called semantic elements. Okay, so this is actually a good place for our discussion on what an element is, because you don't actually have to have these semantic elements in your website to make it a website. These are actually added most recently with an update to HTML. That means that when HTML was updated, all the browsers updated the code that is used to render HTML on the web page, and therefore the HTML tag scripting language, it's not really a scripting language, or it is a language, it's officially referred to as a markup language. And it works much like Microsoft Word's markup language that they have secretly in their docx files. So we're kind of getting an idea of how Microsoft Word works, except for they take out the markup that they use, and they don't show that on the screen where you're actually working within the application. So these ones we're going to actually have, and one of the things about these that, you know, each element is we can give an element name, and we use CSS to adjust where that element is located, on how it's located and rendered on the screen. We can put border around it. We can do all kinds of things for that element. So that means, well, what is an element? Okay, well, let's go ahead and go to columbiabasin.edu. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to a special place in the Chrome web browser, and that is the developer tools. You can actually go to this on most browsers in different ways. But if you're using Chrome, Microsoft's browser is now Chrome. So you go to more tools, you go up to this ellipse up here, go to more tools, and you go to developer tools. And we can see what is being rendered on the web page. And that means that if we go in here, if we go to developer tools, we can look at the source of what's being rendered, and it'll show us the source in Chrome of what it's rendering. And this one is the source of the website of CBC. So it gives us all the source code that CBC uses for its website, all the front end source code, JavaScript and HTML. We will not be talking about back end programming. That's beyond our scope. And then so we see some common characteristics based on just our understanding so far, such as setting the language for English, setting the ASCII code character set, UTF-8 as the character set we're using, and that we can actually look at all the HTML of the CBC website. One thing that I want to look at, though, is the elements. So if we look at the elements, and the elements can be anything. An element can be anything on the web page. We can give it any name we want. We can call out an element, give it a name. We use a div tag for that. You can look at HTML div tag. HTML div tag, any kind of tag that HTML has refers to it as an element of HTML. And that can be an element. Anything on the web page is an element, but predominantly we would think about more of an element think of it as a box. And that box can be an area on a single element or single thing on the web page, or a box that surrounds multiple things on the web page. And you can actually kind of navigate around and view the elements on a web page, like right here. So you see different web pages will show you different elements. It looks like CBC is using just one element on their web page. And when you go to other web pages, let's look at this one and see if they've got some different elements. We'll go to more tools. We'll go to developer tools and click on elements. And when we hover over an element, it should come out as something here. You know what? There we go. Looks like this one's using one element anyways. But hey, regardless, you can review the elements in a web page by going to the elements section and moving your mouse around and looking at different things. You see that we got the HTML element there that highlights up as the whole web page again. But you can consider like maybe just this little area right here, this box is an element, or this box right here is an element. Or this whole window frame with sub elements in it. So when you think about it, and I'm since I'm having a hard time finding an example, let's go ahead and get onto the whiteboard, and then we'll pause, and I'm going to find a good example, and we'll come back to discuss elements. All right, there's a bunch of chicken scratches there. So, a web page. The whole web page itself, and let me see because I'm having a hard time getting my pen in here. There we go. The whole web page itself can be an element, and then inside of it you can have another element that refers to this part. And inside of that element, you can have another element or three elements. And here's the thing is each of these elements you can give a name to, and you can use cascading CSS to describe how they are related, what size they are in pixels. You can even use it to draw a box around it like I'm doing right now and set a border for it. And you can change how it's laid out and rendered on the screen. So anytime that you are declaring or working with elements, it is kind of a catch-all, and it refers to regions of HTML tags and areas, on the screen that you can directly change with CSS. And that means that when we create an element, it's given a title or a name, so that we can use that name and title to both access it using JavaScript and CSS to change its particular design aspects on, what is the background color for this element, what is the standard font for this element, and that's also something that you can template as part of your website. Is you can have templated elements that you implement for each web page. So think about it as an element as anything on a website that you can describe or use like a box and apply specific design characteristics to. All right, I'm going to take a short break and come right back. I'm going to go find a good website that's a little bit better on elements so you guys can get a better feel for this. So I'll go ahead and come right back and we'll continue on. Okay, I've got a good example for us. And the web page doesn't matter, because as long as you go and you view the sources and click on elements, you can kind of get an idea. So you notice how that I've got elements highlighted over here, and then I go over here with my mouse. That's an element. This is an element. That's an element, element. Here's an element that has sub-elements. Here is a big element that represents the whole page that has sub-elements. And this is an element that has sub-elements inside of it. So an element is anything on the web page. And elements can have elements inside of it. And we use these especially to be able to apply design characteristics to it. Now you notice this little box that's popping up. That is describing the CSS that is, Chrome is being very helpful in showing us the CSS that it's using to show that element and render it on the screen. And we will be getting to CSS eventually, but we don't need to start there yet. But this is a good example of how elements are used, and even bringing up the CSS of it. Now this element particularly is given the title h1.article-title. That means it's a heading that is called article-title, and then we can use that in CSS, the name of the element itself, to change its properties using CSS. There's another one. Here's the example. It's called here. This one is called this is using an NH3 tag, and it's called article-excerpt. So that is what an element is. Now let's go ahead and go back to our PowerPoint so we can continue on with our discussion. We've already gotten into the weeds and we haven't even started doing anything yet. That's okay. Things are going to run real quick. All right. So semantic elements are specially named places on your website that refer to a specific element on the screen that you can use CSS to give design details or assign design details to, such as background color, font style, font color, all that stuff. And so when we use this web page, remember that not all web pages need to have these elements. We're going to set up some specific elements for our web page. We're going to use the header element. Now this header should not be confused with an HTML heading area. It's a header element, not the header of an HTML page. So let's go ahead and add these elements, or these semantic, I don't even care, they're just elements, these pre-designed or pre-titled elements, meaning it's an element that you don't have to give a name to. It's already given a name. And therefore it's going to be a lot easier to grab a hold of it using CSS. Other elements that you would create, you would actually write in the HTML the name of the element so that you could use it, the name, to grab a hold of it. But these are pre-built elements that we will take advantage of and are standardized. But that standardization is kind of loose. So let's go ahead and let's go to our folder. I'm going to go back to the desktop here. I'm going to minimize all this stuff. We're going to go into our folder for our website. And remember, I called it my website on the desktop. We have our folders set up. We want these elements because, especially if we want every web page that we create on our website to have symmetry, like they all have the same nav bar, they all have the same header, they all have the same footer. We want to add this to our template that we use for creating web pages. So I'm going to go ahead and open our template up with Visual Studio. And I'm going to, just for the sake of ease, I'm going to put, well, you know, I was going to use the other screen, but I'm not. We'll just go back and forth. So let's bring up our PowerPoint. We're looking for first the header element. So notice it's different from the head of our web page. So let's go ahead and call this template. This is our template. And the only thing that we need to now change is stuff in our body. That's where we're going to add our specific elements that we're going to be using. So we're going to begin with the header element. So I'm going to put in header. And there's Visual Studio Code helping us. And one thing that I've noticed is that to be a little bit, tab that in with the body, because that's going to be helpful, and make it able so that you're able to really view your markup language in an appropriate way, because this is all part of the body. So the header of the web page, this will be at the top. You don't need to put that text in there. And let's throw in our next one, which is going to be a nav element. That's going to be our navigation bar. And this one should be in line with the above one, because what I'm doing is this is the body is encasing the body of all of our HTML. So we have our nav bar, and let's just go ahead and, just for fun, let's throw in contact us and about us. Those are the main web pages or or links that we're going to have. You don't know exactly what's going to be on your nav bar, so I wouldn't put much more in here in your template. And then we have our main. That's going to be the main body, the middle of our web page, where the main content is going to go. So we got our header, the nav bar, then the body, and then we're going to have our footer. Okay, and we don't really need spaces between those because our indent's kind of doing that. And I'm just going to put stuff here. I'm just going to, and you don't even need that. All right, and then our last one would be the footer. I think we can just guess what that is. Oh, it didn't autocomplete for me. You stinker. There we go. No. All right. I think we got it. We're good. Let's go ahead and save that. And you know what? I wonder if we could just run it in the debugger by going up here to run and start debugging. I don't know. Trust this workspace and continue. Oh, yeah, we can choose Web App Chrome. That way we don't have to go in and double click on it, because here's the way I would run it otherwise. I'll show you here. Okay, so then this is pretty much, here is our header, here is our links, here is the footer. Now CSS will make it so that we can put this nice and prettily on the web page. And what I would even go so far to do is put borders around it. We'll do that probably on another video. I don't like to go much more than an hour. So we're going to come back to this. Now, if I were just to run this in and test it, what I would do is, since I've set it my operating system to open up Visual Studio Code when I double click on an HTML file, I would just right click on that and I would say open with Chrome, and then I would get the same thing. So that's one thing that I like about Visual Studio is you can just kind of go in there, and even when you test it, you can just hit F5. If we just hit F5, it's going to just pop it up for us. It should, unless my F5 is not working. Do I need to hit Shift F5? Well, okay, my F5 is not working. That's all right. Yeah. Okay, so now we have the characteristics, our template. We've saved it. Let's go ahead and go back to our PowerPoint and see what is next on our adventure. Okay, so we've created our web page template. We are ready to go on that. Do we have the title? Yes, we have the title. That's all done. We got that done. We've already looked at it. Now let's place a comment in here. So it's kind of funny the way a comment goes. We can actually let's just copy it from here and throw it in the web page and then look at what a comment does. I'm going to go back to our web page in Visual Studio, and let's say that I want to put a comment in the code for here. So here's going to be the problem is, since I copied that from PowerPoint, it's going to have some of the PowerPoint markup in it that we might not be able to see in this editor, because PowerPoint works with is a markup language as well. You just can't see it. The editor hides it from you. So you see how things kind of got a little bit better. So usually when I just copy and paste stuff, either I'll copy and paste it into Notepad so that it strips any unexpected characters from it, or I'll go in there and just backspace stuff and make it whatever. So here it should be, this is my comment. This is what should happen, is this comment should not be rendered on the page. And let's see if I lied to you. And it looks like I did not lie to you. But let's go ahead and do this. Let's make this comment a not comment. Let's strip it and make it messed up. And let's just see what happens. Okay, it looks like Chrome is still helping us out. Okay, let's do this. Ah, there we go. It showed up. Okay. Keep that in there, just because we may want to make a comment somewhere. A lot of times that I use comments for is just to give myself a little note. Bug is here, and you guys won't do much debugging. Or I would do something like, if it's really complex HTML tags, I may put a comment to the next person. I may put a comment to add more links here or something like that. Okay. Okay, we're done with that. Heading elements. You guys, I'm gonna let you guys kind of, well, let's do an example of it. I guess what we want to use is the H1 tag. And this is going to be something inside of one of your, it could be in your footer, or your header, or whatever. But let's say that in our header, or in our main, we want a heading that has bigger text than everything else. So I would say I want an H1 heading, and the number depends, is what describes the size of the text. So H1, I'll look at that there. Let's change that to an H2. So we'll put 2 over here. So anything between these has that characteristic of being larger or smaller. So let's see what H4 does. And H1 should be the biggest, and H4 should be the smaller one. And you see how the size changes. So it just describes how Chrome should render that text, either with a bigger font than the font that you have set for that page already, or that Chrome's default is, or what you've set in the CSS for that, and whatnot. So that's an example of a header. And let's see, web page content. Okay, that's cool. Let's do that. Let's say that this is a website. No. Let's move on because we've already gone into a little bit too much time. Okay, we've already looked at that. Using symbol entities. Okay, so here's kind of something that you will find a lot is when we need something specific to happen, when we need to tell Chrome to specifically render this character and whatnot, and a lot of times, like the @ symbol, we need to tell it that this is an @ symbol or an area to render an @ symbol for like a copyright notice, and then it needs a specific sequence of characters to tell Chrome to render that @ symbol. And that's what these guys are. These the symbol entities is the copyright and the @ symbol. So that's where we are going to add a copyright part down here. And just let's think about what we want our web page to be named. And hey, I'm fond of border collies because I have 2 of them and they're totally nuts. I'm telling you, they're a full-time job. Don't get a border collie. Whatever you do, do not do it. I'll tell you what, they're fun as heck. Anyways, let's go ahead and before we get too far into having too much fun, let's go ahead and go to our copyright, and we're going to call them this website. Let's say this is a website on crazy border collies, and I'm going to be coming back to this theme over and over. I'm going to use the specific character sequence for that, which is we're going to use the ampersand and say, hey, this is a specific character in the ASCII code that I want you to render. And we're going to put, well, it looks like it's the pound 9475 might be the 9475 might be the copyright. And I'm going to copyright this as Crazy Border Collies Inc. Okay, now let's go ahead and run that and see if it did our copyright. It looks like we have a problem. Why do we have a problem? Because I did a syntax error. I forgot the pound sign. Now let's look at it. Okay, well that is not the right special ASCII code character. So then I must have gotten the number wrong. Because each one is given a different number. So let's go ahead and go back to this PowerPoint. What did it's 9475. Oh my gosh, look at me. Just all kinds of problems today. And this is what we call a script error. Yeah, okay, so it said that it was already running and it doesn't like me. So what I can do now is I can just make a save here. Okay, I can say cancel, and every time, you know what, to make this quicker, instead of going here to run, start all the time, just go to File, Save, and then go to the browser to the page in your browser that's showing this, and reload it. Okay, it looks like, oh, that's interesting. It looks like that's not the copyright character, whatever that one is. Let's look and see if we'll try a different one. 9475. Let's see, 9475. It's right before, the one that's right before copyright is the one that we want. It looks like they're not showing us that. That's okay. This is a good chance to use Google, and I'm going to say HTML copyright, not tag. We could use tag, but HTML copyright. Yeah, let's just tag. Back with it. Copyright symbol. Oh, we can use. Oh, we can do the simple one. We don't have to use. I was totally off. It's pound 169. But you know what? This one, they made it simpler. We can just use ampersand copy. Let's do that. We don't, oops. We don't need to, I think I can do 169 here too, or just do this copy. Okay. Oh, I don't need that to do that anymore. I can just save it. Let's do this. Control S. We can do a Control S real quick. Control S. Go back to our Chrome and go to the page that we're showing, and then refresh it. And there's my copyright for Crazy Border Collies Incorporated. All right, now let's go back to our PowerPoint. Make sure that we're not getting too far out. Oh, you know what? I just needed to go to the next page to figure that one out, guys. Okay, sorry for that fun, but guess what? We learned something along the way. And that's why I kind of do these demos, because you guys not only see me doing the stuff, but because a lot of this stuff is skill-based. It's not necessarily knowledge-based. If you start picking up the skill, the knowledge does come, because the knowledge is one Google search away. All right, so I'm going to skip over validating HTML documents. It's important to validate for a couple different reasons. You can, different websites will validate your accessibility. So you can get different types of accessibility scores. And then also, if you do get a website that has a higher accessibility or rating than other websites, then that's going to drive more traffic to you. And so a lot of these validators are not just for validating appropriate HTML code. It's also to see how well you're doing. So you can go to an accessibility validator and use that. I believe the one in your book is using W3 School. So why don't you guys go ahead and get into that. I'm going to skip over it. And it looks like it shows you some things that you have for an error. All right, so now we're ready to get into creating our home page. I am going to transition into something else here. It looks like we've hit all the learning targets. Let's go back to what I wanted to get across to you today. This is where we need to be. We've talked about the PowerPoint and elements. Now let's talk about directories on a web server. And then we'll talk about an index page. So often what you'll find is when you go to a web page, what it'll happen is you see here, it's saying C:, because I put this website or web page, it's saying C:, users, be Josh, desktop, my website. Well, this is the same thing, except for if this was another web page on the web, we would just use www.mysite.com/my website folder and then template.html to access it. And we would put the my website folder inside of a special directory inside of the server that's called www. And that www folder on the website is accessible to the web, and when you type in the web address, it goes to a user. First off, when you type in a web page address and you go onto that server, you're going on as a special user that's given privileges to view directories on that special directory that is opened up to the website or the Apache or the web server. So that directory, what we're looking for is we're looking for just putting the directory in, not the whole web page. So usually what people will do is they will just go, hey, let's go to the .com, and then it automatically goes to the directory of the web server that is open to the web as a guest account. You come in as a guest user, and it shows you the index page. And that's what we want, is we want to create this and call this index, and that is what opens up and becomes the default page that is shown automatically in Chrome when that directory is accessed, when you go to that website. And you could just rename our folder on the desktop as www and put it in there, or you can have the folder named My Website. And I'm going to show you how that kind of works here. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take this and we're going to copy this file. Okay. And we're going to paste it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this copy and we're going to rename it. And we're going to rename this index.html. Okay, so that means that if I were to go to a web page on the My Website directory, it's going to automatically show index. And I'm going to show you how that kind of works here. First, let's open this up with Visual Studio Code and edit it. I'm going to say open. I should have set trust, but this is, let's call this, let's just call this just for fun. Let's say this is, Control Z. Control Z is your ultimate friend if you make a mistake. It looks like I got the insert key tabbed or put in. That happens a lot to me for some reason. I don't know why, but let's go ahead and do this. Oh, I was hitting home, not insert. Okay, let's call this, and let's just say that this is, put stuff. Let's go down here and say, this is my index page. And that way we know. And let's go ahead and let's go back to the template. Let's go back to our template and let's run that. And let's run the template. Now you notice the template, it's opening up my website and it says template.html. What happens is, what I want to do is I want to take this out. And I just want it to be my website that it's going to. And if it's going to just my website folder, it automatically opens up that index.html. And there's the index. Oh, index.html didn't load up for the directory. It should be showing this stuff. Okay, that is an ultimate fail. Let's see. I wonder why that did not work. It should have. Because I got directories enabled. Okay, if this was on a website, it would just show index.html here. So when you got it configured correctly, you go to that directory and it automatically opens up index.html. And it looks like I've got it set in Chrome, where if I go to a directory on my own hard drive, it opens up the directory instead. That's fine. But what it should be doing is just opening up the index. So essentially what you do is, if you are going to a website, you would say www.mysite.com, and you would go and put your website in the www folder, and we'll start with index.html. So you would just say my website, mysite.com, and it automatically opens up the index.html that's in that folder. And so this is the index.html file of mysite.com. And that's why we have an index.html, is because it automatically opens it up. Unfortunately, I couldn't locally show you that. We can do this. We can publish our own website using WAMP, Windows Apache MySQL PHP. And then I could show you how that works. You know what? I'm adding that to my bullet points. That's going to be an additional thing. Maybe, possibly, we'll see. We'll see. Possibly, it might be beyond our scope. Let's not get into it, actually. All right. So we have an index now that represents our web page. We can right-click on the index and say run open with Chrome. And it shows that this is my index page. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to create another file, and this is going to be our contact us. So I'm going to take our template, I'm going to copy it again, I'm going to paste it, and then I'm going to rename it, rename contact us.html. Now I'm going to open that up in Visual Studio, and I'm going to say that this is my contact us page, and I'm going to save that. I could just hit Control S to save it. Okay, so we have this as our contact page, but when our website starts up, with our index. This is how our website starts. So what we want is when a user comes up and clicks on Contact Us, we want that to go to the Contact Us page. And we're going to do that through implicit file direction. And I'm going to show you how that works right now. What we need to do is we need to put in a link, an HTML link. And I'm just going to go to Google and I'm going to type in HTML link. HTML links, hyperlinks. Okay, so here is a hyperlink. We put the URL. And the URL could be an implicit file that's in the same directory, or a total redirect to another website, web page, whatever. But this is what's going to be in our nav area for, and if, you know, essentially this actually should be added to your template, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and add it to our index. And I'm going to say open with, it's actually already open in Visual Studio. I'm being lazy. We're going to go here in our nav bar, and we're going to put that code, that link. Okay, so instead of contact us being here, we're going to put it here. Okay, it looks like my monitor. Okay, there we go. I'm good now. Had a monitor blink out for a little bit. Okay, so this URL is important because we could do this. We could do this. We could say C:, blah, 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 but we don't want that because we don't know where our website's going to be. We don't know what directory or web folder it's going to be in. So what we want to do is we want to use implicit file, and what we'll do is we'll just put in contact us.html. Now what that means is, since we're not telling it where to go, we're not telling it to go to C:/ somewhere. And in fact, this would actually be more like www.blah.com/contact us, something like that on another website. This is on our internal web page that we're creating, and we don't know where we're going to put our website. So we use an implicit call to the contact us HTML page. And what it's going to do is, since we're telling it to go nowhere, to go to that contact us, it's going to go to the only place that it knows exists. And that is the current directory of the index.html page. So since we say don't go to a specific directory, just go to contactus.html. And so it's going to go, okay, well, the only directory I know about is the my website directory that has index in it. I'm going to go in this directory and I'm going to look for contact us HTML. It's not actually looking for it, but we're using the implicit instruction, and that's what that link is. And so it's going to go directly to the directory it knows about, and try to find this page to show. And if it's not there, Chrome will show an error. So let's go ahead and run the index again. You know what? Let's just... I wonder if Control F5 would work. No. Let's save it. And then I'm going to go ahead and start it with the web app. Okay. So you see now how Contact Us is linked up. We're on index, but I'm going to click on Contact Us. And now you see right here, it's now Contact Us. I clicked on it. We're on index. I click on Contact Us, and it goes to contactus.html. And so this is our contact page. And that's a little bit of where we're headed for this stuff. So that's going to be how you do your links. And it's going to be the same so that when we go here, we have a home link. We should have added a home link, by the way. In fact, let's do that. Let's go to our template. And our template, we're going to replace our template eventually. But let's do this. Let's grab this guy. No, let's just grab this guy. Control C. And then let's do a Control V. And let's call this one Home. And then this will just go to index.html. Okay, and then we're going to take this whole nav and let's put that in our template. Because that's going to be something that we have. Oh, it didn't copy. Okay, yeah, let's put it in our nav bar for our template. And then let's Control S, save that. Let's go to our Contact Us. Let's copy over that. It looks like it's adding it to it. Yeah, okay, that worked. Just need to do that. And bring this in a little bit. Let's make sure that they're all kind of the same. Good. Oh, that's not the same. So you see how we're kind of having problems already keeping things. And you see how I tabbed that in so that it's in the nav element, but the text itself is tabbed in. So that just makes it easier to read and make sure that everything's the same. And you see how it's now the same across the template, my index page, and the Contact Us. So we're getting a little ahead of ourselves today, but that's all right because chapter 2 is a little easy anyways. All right, now let's go ahead and look at the rendering and how this works. Now that I've saved our new nav bar across our whole breadth of our web pages, it looks like index right here. I'm going to so now we got Contact Us. I click on that. It goes to this is my contact page. Now I click on Home. This is my index page. Contact Us. This is my Contact Us. Home. So you see kind of how that works. Eventually what you're going to want is, we're going to want some spacing in between here. There is actually a special key for spacing, excuse me, it's called BR. There's a BR tag to add a couple spaces between. So now I would take this whole thing, copy it, and then paste it across the template. Yeah, for some reason I need to have insert going for that. I might have to change some settings on Visual Studio Code because I'm not liking how I have to go all the way back and forth between the stupid insert tab key. I'll have to figure out what's going on there. Okay, does this one have our BR in it? No. Okay. Now, oh, crud. I'm just going to add this stupid thing. You know, when you get it, it's not a very good habit just to add. It's better to grab the whole thing from and copy paste. But this is a simple enough change. Okay, there. It's on Contact Us. It's on our index. is it. It's not in the template. Let's throw it in the template. All right. Control S on all these. Control S. Control S. Okay, now let's go ahead and look at it again. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. You guys, I messed up. BR is a break line. It's that weird one. Ampersand. So we're going to change this. We're going to you know, it's a nice happenstance because we get to talk about new line and how do we actually break a line in that. But it actually was in your PowerPoints, but it's the code HTML code. They're not tags. Code for space. It's that MBSP one. So we're going to take this guy and we're going to replace it. And yes, it needs the semicolon. Really weird one, but so let's go ahead and just replace it here. Okay, there we go. And let's do a Control S. Replace it here. Control S. And replace it here. Now you guys are seeing the need for a template and to keep your template up to date, because as you're changing your website, you're going to want to change your template because you don't want to start at ground zero when you're just adding another web page with a little bit of a main body, but you want to keep the same header, footer, and whatnot, and navigation bar. Okay, now we should be running. Oh, I forgot my Control S. All right, let's do our last little thing. Excuse me. Looks like cancel. That's because I was already okay. There, you see, there's a space now. We can put more of those spaces in there if we want for our nav bar, but now we can just go back and forth between the pages, and that's what you'll guys be seeing here coming up. And we will review it again through the PowerPoint next week and continue on with some other stuff. Otherwise, I have taken enough of your time. Thank you. Goodbye.